Hey folks, this is Riker with the Gaming News Wrap-Up video where we discuss the happenings of the week. This week's topics include Ubisoft's Great Exodus, Torchlight Infinite closed beta coming, the massive Diablo 4 quarterly update, and more. As always, discussion timestamps can be found in the description below. But right before you skip ahead, just a quick reminder to ring that sub notification bell to be alerted to new Saturday episodes and stay up to date with gaming news highlights. Now, before we move on, just a quick word from this video's sponsor, Squarespace. I built my website, Riker.com, using Squarespace, and I was able to do everything myself quickly and easily, and with zero education in the field, all thanks to how easy Squarespace is to work with. Watch how easily I update my Diablo 3 page to embed my latest Season 25 videos. Everything was set up with some templates that I was able to easily customize to my needs, no knowledge of coding required. You can even connect your social media profiles to automatically push website content to your socials, and even set up a members only area with exclusive content. Basically, if you want to build a website, I recommend Squarespace. And Squarespace is currently offering my viewers 10% off your first purchase with them. Just go to squarespace.com/Riker or click the link in the description to sign up and start building your online presence. That's squarespace.com/RHYKKER and use code Riker to get started today. In our first quick story, early access ARPG Last Epoch is 20% off on Steam until January 5th. The game just recently had a massive update that is being well received by players, and this is definitely an ARPG to keep an eye on, if you don't outright buy it during early access. It has a lot of promise, it has my favorite active skill system of any ARPG, and is filled with some great game systems. Alright, on to our first major story. After a good amount of investigative journalism involving numerous interviews, Axios has released an article covering what some are calling the Great Exodus of Ubisoft. This term, as well as the cut artery, is what some current and former Ubisoft workers are allegedly calling the departures that have been happening across all of the company's studios over the past 18 months. At least 5 of the top 25 credited people from Ubisoft's biggest 2021 game, Far Cry 6, have left. 12 of the top 50 from last year's biggest Ubisoft release, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, have left as well, and a total of 60 mid and lower level workers have left the Montreal and Toronto studios over the past 6 months. Altogether, the attrition rate is 12%, according to Ubisoft's data, which the company claims is within industry norms, though admittedly a few percentage points above where it typically is for Ubisoft. Now, as a point of comparison, Activision Blizzard's attrition rate is currently 16%, amidst the ongoing scandal, but EA's is 9%, Take-Two's is 8%, and Epic Games is 7%. So that 16% is considerably higher, though probably not catastrophic. Now that said, interviewed employees claim that the departures have slowed or even stalled progress on some projects. One former employee claims that a colleague still working at Ubisoft had to reach out to him to solve an issue with a game because there was no one left at Ubisoft that knew the system. Over the course of a dozen interviews with current and former Ubisoft devs, Axios found a number of factors have been contributing to the departures, including low pay, tons of competitive opportunities, frustration with the company's creative direction, and unease with how Ubisoft handled its 2020 workplace misconduct scandal. One programmer told Axios that they were able to triple their salary by leaving Ubisoft and accepting an offer elsewhere. Ubisoft tells Axios that they've hired 2,600 workers since April. Now, Ubisoft has about 20,000 employees, so some quick math suggests that the extra workers they've hired don't quite make up for the workers they've lost. And it's also worth noting that in the past 2 years, in each of those past 2 years, Ubisoft has hired more than 4,500 workers, so it seems they're hiring fewer this year for whatever reason. Ubisoft has recently offered pay raises to help retain its workers at its Canadian studios, and this has allegedly improved retention by 50%. However, this has now caused frustration from devs from the non-Canadian studios, who are wondering, hey, where's my raise? In general, the AAA industry hasn't been in a great place lately, and competition is fierce. There's a lot of poaching going on. In other news, closed beta signups for Torchlight Infinite have begun. Torchlight Infinite is a new installment in the Torchlight series being developed by Jingdong as a multi-platform game, playable on both mobile and PC, though the upcoming closed beta will be the mobile version. It is an ARPG and explicitly not an MMO. In fact, it was designed primarily as a single-player experience, and it's set 200 years after Torchlight 2. The game, which doesn't have a release date yet, will have 24 talent trees and over 180 unique skills. And diving into the details, it looks like the game will do some pretty cool things, like give you the ability to combine skills for unique effects. For instance, you can upgrade a skill or add an effect to a skill with support skills, similar to Path of Exile. So you can combine Fireball with the support skill Greater Multiple Projectiles to have Fireball split into 5 fireballs. And then you can also add on Wind Projectiles to make those fireballs travel faster. Now, the Torchlight series has an interesting, let's call it, timeline to it. Torchlight 2 released back in 2012, but during its development, Perfect World Entertainment bought the game's developer, Runic Games. And the reason they did that was because they wanted Runic to then work on a Torchlight MMO. However, after Torchlight 2, Perfect World, I guess, got distracted or changed priorities and had the company focus on other game projects apart from Torchlight. So following the release of Torchlight 2, some major figures left Runic, and one of its founders, Max Schaefer, wonderful guy, still wanted to make a Torchlight MMO, so he founded Ectra Games in 2016, and he got the rights from Perfect World to make a Torchlight game. In 2018, Ectra revealed Torchlight Frontiers, which was to be an MMO ARPG. But then in January 2020, following fan feedback, the game was rebranded to Torchlight 3, dropping most of the MMO aspects. Early access for Torchlight 3 began in June of 2020, with the full release happening in October. But it seems that throughout this last year of Torchlight 3's development, it seems Perfect World was also negotiating a deal with developer Xindong to work on a mobile Torchlight game. Because according to Xindong, they officially got the rights to the franchise in summer of 2020, around the same time that or shortly after early access began for Torchlight 3. But they say they had been working on the game for a while at that point. So my understanding is, again, before Torchlight 3 was even released, Perfect World was already licensing a new Torchlight game to another company. Then fast forward past Torchlight 3's release, March 2021, Zynga bought Ectra Games, leaving Perfect World with Torchlight 3 and the Torchlight IP as a whole. But then recently, literally this week, Perfect World Entertainment was bought out by Embracer Group, and it was placed under Gearbox Software, the creators of Borderlands. So technically, the devs of Borderlands now have the rights to the Torchlight IP, which is quite the coincidence, given I'm getting some heavy Borderlands vibes from the Torchlight Infinite trailer. Now, I'm glad that this game will be cross-platform. I really do think that's the right approach to take if you're going to make a mobile ARPG. The ability to play on your PC and then swap to mobile when you leave the house and then come back onto your PC all playing the same character, I think that's really the way to go. I think that worked great for Genshin Impact, and I think that could be what would work best for an ARPG as well. Again, assuming that the base game is a quality game. Now, in other acquisition news, Tencent has bought Turtle Rock, the developer of Back 4 Blood, Evolve, and Left 4 Dead. According to Tencent, Turtle Rock will retain its independent operations under the leadership of its co-founders. And this does seem to be Tencent's general MO. Buy a successful company and let it keep doing its thing without significant interference. In other news, Hades, the roguelike game from Supergiant, is the first ever video game to win a Hugo Award. The category was Best Video Game, and games that were eligible for the award were all released in 2020. So Hades beat out Animal Crossing New Horizons, BlazBall, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Spiritfarer, and The Last of Us Part 2. Now, the Hugo Awards have been around since 1953 and have been awarded every year since 1955. They're annual literary awards for the best sci-fi and fantasy works and achievements of the year, and the Hugo is considered the premier award in sci-fi. Best Video Game was added as a special one-time category this year, but to make a new category permanent, members of the World Science Fiction Society must vote on it at 2 consecutive meetings, so who knows what the future holds. Regardless, I hear nothing but great things about Hades, so it sounds like the award is well deserved. It received universal acclaim and received several awards and honors from various outlets. I really need to make time to try this game, but if you've tried it, I encourage you to sound off in the comments with your impressions. In some quick Wolcen news, the December update is being postponed to the new year. While it seems that the patch is currently ready, the devs don't want to release during a time when their team will be on Christmas vacation because they want to have staff on hand to fix any bugs and issues that may arise upon launch of the patch. It's definitely the prudent, correct decision to make here. And the devs did give a sneak peek at the endgame content they're adding with this upcoming patch. The War Table is a new feature that will allow players to partake in 4 new endgame activities. Players will have a choice between several mission types at multiple difficulty levels with specific rewards. This update is also adding new monsters with new abilities and attack patterns. In Diablo news, starting with Diablo 4, the December quarterly update went up this week, and it's a doozy, giving us an itemization update, introducing a new system to us, the Paragon board, and showcasing a bunch of impressive technology around the game's visual effects. Be sure to check out my full video breaking down and giving my analysis on all of that, but I will mention some extra info that has come to light since my video. So first off, I pointed out in my video how this image here seems to be a teaser of the new skill tree, and that the center seems to depict a skull of sorts. Well, it's now clear to me that that's not a skull, that's actually a wolf's head with a paw above it, so clearly this is the druid's skill tree. Also, in looking through the various videos on the blog post, we've developed a very solid theory revolving around character levels and the Paragon board. We see a number to the left of the experience bar that appears to be your character's base level, and then we see this number go all the way up to 100, where the experience bar seems to be full. So this seems to imply that max level in Diablo 4 will be 100. We also see at level 50, extra little nodes appear on the experience bar. Now, we know that the Paragon board unlocks at level 50, and that you acquire Paragon points by gaining XP. Thus, seems to be that those little nodes are when you acquire Paragon nodes. And so it seems like it's going to be 4 Paragon nodes or Paragon points per level, and assuming this, again, remains consistent from level 50 to 100, that would mean we ultimately unlock 200 Paragon points in total. The individual Paragon boards each seem to contain very roughly 150 tiles each, so there's definitely no way we'll be able to fill up multiple boards, meaning we will have to make meaningful decisions in how we allocate our points, and it will not translate into infinitely scaling power, which is great news. Further, in this barbarian footage, we see a little pop-up say, two-handed mace reached rank 1, 2% bonus overpower damage. And there's a barbarian icon to the left of it. Could this be somehow related to the barbarian's arsenal system? Is this some special barbarian thing that makes using specific weapons increase your potency with that type of weapon? There's a lot we don't know, but it just goes to show there's a lot more to this game than the devs have spoken about in the blog posts. We also got confirmation by community manager Filthy Rich that rare items can be modified by essences, since the blog post seems to suggest that only legendaries can. Now, if you're looking for a compilation of everything we currently know about Diablo 4, community member Silik has done a great job of compiling everything in a Reddit post, which I'll link below. And then lastly in Diablo 4 news, the official Diablo channel released a Yule log video just in time for the holiday season. Except they did it in Diablo style, so it's a burning pentacle. Then in Diablo 3 news, a hotfix was applied to patch out an exploit that Demon Hunter players were using to clear GR150s in about 30 seconds. Now, the exploit was impossible to perform accidentally, for anyone who may be concerned. The only way to perform it was through deliberate, counterintuitive play. If you were exploiting, you would 100% be aware that you were exploiting. So Blizzard, in addition to laying out that hotfix, also reset several leaderboards to wipe those clears, which unfortunately, erased legit clears as well. But I mean, the leaderboards were completely screwed at that point anyway, so it's a crappy situation all around. And it seems that all the Paragon levels that the exploiters got by doing those 30-second 150s, they're not losing all those Paragons, so we're not seeing a mass ban wave. So, competitive players in general don't seem terribly happy about the situation. It sucks that the exploit got through, it sucks that there are these ramifications. But that's gonna wrap up this video. However, I do want to extend a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays to all my raiders out there. Stay safe, I wish you and your families lots of health, lots of happiness, and we'll see you again in the new year. But until then, do be sure to have checked out last week's video in which we discussed the massive changes coming to Diablo 2 Resurrected. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you see on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it, check out these other videos, and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more gaming content.